All right, today in today's Sun Sentinel, Senator Marco Rubio here of South Florida and the state has written an op-ed piece concerning trying to save Medicare and trying to talk about the seriousness of the issue with the possibility that Medicare could be heading toward insolvency in the very near future. Ironically or not, Vice President Joe Biden is in town today in South Florida. He's at Windmore Village condominium community in Coconut Creek. Probably talking about that very same issue. We're pleased to be joined by a man who's kind enough to join us periodically, Senator Marco Rubio. Good morning to you, Senator.
Good morning, Jimmy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad to talk to you. Talk to me about your idea, because I'm reading your op-ed piece in the Sun Sentinel this morning, and you say that Medicare should be guided by three key principles. What are they, and how do you see this working?
Well, the first key principle is we have to reform it. It has to, whatever solutions we come up with have to be real. It can't be some cosmetic thing that allows us to buy another couple of years of political time. The second is it can't impact anybody that's currently in the program. And that means, and I think it has to be people that are 55 years of age or older. And the reason why you do that is because if you've told someone their whole life this is what they're going to get when they retire, they've worked 30 years, they've paid into that system, and now you have to keep your word to them because they've planned their whole life around it. And the third is they can't do anything to destroy economic growth, like raise taxes. And I'm concerned about what raising taxes will do to an economy that's already not growing fast enough. So these are the three principles that I think we need to be guided by. And within those principles, I think it's important that we have ideas on how to solve this Medicare issue. Medicare should not be a partisan issue. I think all Americans benefit from Medicare. I think all Americans, regardless of your political affiliation, should be committed to saving Medicare. But if we do nothing, if we just leave the program the way it is or tinker at the edges, it will go bankrupt.
Yeah,
and the day will come very soon when there won't be a Medicare program like we know it because of that.
That's the frightening part about it. And there's been a lot of scare tactics that has worked, quite frankly, especially here in the state of Florida. And you point that out during your op-ed piece. But the point that I try to make, too, is that if you're now 63, 64, 65, and you're enjoying Medicare and nothing is done to fix it, keep your hands off my Medicare is what we kept hearing from AARP and from the Democrats as well. If that happens and you turn 80 or 81 and all of a sudden it becomes insolvent, that's when you need it most, isn't it?
That's exactly right. And I see it firsthand every day. My mom is a Medicare recipient who's had some health struggles in the last couple of years. My dad, who passed away a year and a half ago, I saw what Medicare meant for him. So for me, Medicare is not some government program I've read about. I'm living it every day, helping my parents and now my mom navigate the process. But here's what I would say, because you're absolutely right about the using for politics. If you are a senior citizen, if you are listening to this show right now and you are over the age of 55, there are going to be no changes made to the Medicare that has been promised to you. You are going to get the Medicare that was promised to you, period. So this is not about people 55 years of age or older. So I repeat, if you are 55 years of age or older and you're listening to this broadcast right now, this has nothing to do with you. Nothing is going to change for you. We are talking about what changes we need to make to my Medicare. I'm 40 years old. When I retire, what is my Medicare going to look like? And here's what it's going to look like if we do nothing. There isn't going to be one. And so that's why I think that people like me, my generation, who are 2 decades away from retirement, we are the ones that have to accept that our Medicare is not going to look the same as my parents' Medicare.
So what's the answer then, Senator? If we're not going to raise taxes on it and we're going to keep it in place for those 55 and older, what do we do for those of your generation?
Well, and that's what I talk about in the op-ed, for example. One of the solutions that's now been offered is a bipartisan one between a Democrat, Ron Wyden from the Senate, and Paul Ryan in the House. And what it would do is a couple things. When I retire, I will have two choices. My first choice is to stay in the regular Medicare program, the one that everyone is getting now. And the other choice that I would have is a choice where I actually get what they call a premium support. In essence, Medicare would send me a medical payment every month that I could use to buy insurance from any company in America that will sell it to me. And that amount that they sell me will be based on how rich I am or poor I am, how sick I am, how old I am. And people say, well, that won't work. Well, it does work. That's exactly how your members of Congress get their insurance. So what we're saying is that when people like my generation retire, they should have a choice between traditional Medicare and buying Medicare the way their congressmen and senators get insurance coverage. And again, this doesn't apply to anybody who's in the program now or anywhere near retirement. If you're 55 years of age or older, you're going to get the same Medicare you were promised. There'll be no changes for you. Don't let people come down here and convince you or demagogue you on this issue of what Medicare is going to look like.
Yes, and that's the key point here. I can't help but think that it may be ironic that Vice President Biden is here in town today in South Florida, and probably going to talk about Medicare. And here you are with your op-ed piece that's running today in the Sun Sentinel. Now, Jeb Bush, and you're very aware of this, has said that you're the person he wants to see on this ticket with Mitt Romney. Does this change your mind at all?
No, Jimmy, as you well know, I've been angling for a GM job in the NFL, and they just don't seem to open up very often. But no, like, it doesn't change. I'm honored that Jeb would say it. I think Jeb should be vice president. How's that?
Yeah, so, well, you know what? I think you'd both be a great choice. And I'm
honored. Listen, coming from him, it's a big honor. Though.
Yeah.
He's a good friend, and he's a great governor.
Yeah, he really is a great governor, and someone who the conservatives respect greatly. Speaking of that, did you were disappointed about Peyton? Were you disappointed that we didn't get our second choice?
Oh, God. You know what? I don't think there was a second choice. I mean, Peyton Manning's a Hall of Fame guy, so you can't sign him. Then who do you move on to? Because the truth is that whether we want to accept it or not, we have the second best quarterback in the AFC East after Tom Brady. And the truth is, none of these guys that were available in free agency, in my opinion, are better than Matt Moore.
Yeah.
So if you're going to upgrade the position, that means you got to bring somebody in who's better. And just because somebody's new doesn't mean that they're better. So Peyton Manning is better than Matt Moore.
Yeah.
Matt Flynn, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not so sure either. You know, we've tried that backup quarterback thing forever. Hey, Senator, before we leave, Manny wanted to ask you a question, too. Go ahead, Manny.
Yeah, Senator, sorry to change gears on you. I believe you were already in the Republican leadership in the Florida legislature, not yet Speaker, when the Stand Your Ground law was passed. Obviously, big news this week because of the Trayvon Martin case. Do you think that law should be repealed? Do you think it's being used the way you all intended when you passed it?
Well, a couple of things I'd say. First of all, any law should always be constantly analyzed to make sure it's working the way it's working. That being said, from what I have read in the media, and all I know about this case is what I read about in the media, that defense is not available to Zimmerman. It's not available to the shooter in this case. Okay, that law does not allow you to chase somebody. And if that's what happened here, that defense is not available to him. That defense does not allow you to go after people in the street because you think they look suspicious. It just doesn't apply. That defense is not available to him,
right,
as I understand that law. So I think that's an important point that has to be made. But the other two things about that case that we need to recognize that are important is, number one, we need to get the facts out, and that's why I'm glad the Justice Department and the FBI is involved. These guys are professionals. They're going to come in, and they're going to give us the facts in this case. And when the facts are available, then we should insist on justice.
Yeah.
The second thing that I would say, and it's a separate issue from all this, is we have a real problem in this country where especially young African-American males feel that, and I think rightfully so, that just being young and African-American makes them suspicious to some people and vulnerable to these types of things. That is a reality. I've been talking about that now for over a decade. We as a society have to confront that because that is true and that is happening, and that is not going to go away until we confront it as a society.
Yeah, Senator, we appreciate you coming on the program today. We wish you'd come down and see us in person. I'm sure you'll be able to do that sometime in the near future, and I'm going to help change your mind one of these days. I am.
About Matt Flynn?
About Matt Flynn. Yes, sir. About Matt Flynn. Exactly right. Hey, thanks, Senator. Nice talking to you.
Thanks,